It's the Whiteout Podcast. Oh.
Yes.
Hey, you're walking all over me out here, big guy.
Who, me?
Oh. Michael's sensitive because
Michael is mad sensitive.
Because I brought up
Before we gave Stefano a talk about being late, we gave Michael a talk about basically sacking up and standing up to Stefano.
and taking
Basically, this is no longer Michael's podcast. This is now the Stefano cast, and let's just call it the Stefano
you guys
as
talk about when I'm
Hosko
not
show.
around? Is this what you guys talk about? Is there some kind of conspiracy by the
We're planning on later introducing you to the cookout as well, and that's when we lynch you to a tree. That's
come on.
Rather than
excited for the cookout.
Rather than kicking you out, we're actually considering of just pivoting and just becoming like a Stefano and the Three Sidekicks show. You can just take the lead and we just follow.
As long as you invite me to cookouts, I'm touched. Listen, this is what happens, man. This is what happens. The king starts rising, and the lowly proles over here, start trying to overthrow him. Jeremy Christian podcast, He said F that twice.
Oh, jeez.
So
F doesn't stand for fettuccine Alfredo.
So Michael and Jeremy, we totally have 20 minutes on like the playoffs, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Got it. All right.
Is that how you proclaim?
Absolutely
sovereignty of the podcast?
I couldn't watch anymore after the third quarter. I really couldn't.
You know what? We'll save it.
Let's save it.
Real quick. Before anything else, we apologize for the blackout last week. Me and David tried to get an episode out. The quality and volume of technical errors was such that if we released it, it might have caused seizures. And honestly, we're not trying to make this podcast a hazard to your health. It's already a hazard to your mental health. Your physical health would be a little bit too much, so we didn't release it. But we're back. Trust me, we're back.
And I was too busy shaking my ass at the cottage. So,
I mean, how was the cottage, Mike?
It was okay. Yeah. There was a lake. I swam in it.
That's important. That's very important.
You know, I swam in it. I think a fish bit me, but it's all good. Like right here. But it's all good. Cool.
All right, then.
All right.
Moving on.
Ooh, I've written a pretty decent 1FC segment. Okay, sorry. I'm jumping ahead here. Let's go.
David, a recent East Asia correspondent following...
I love it. I used to live in East Asia, Southeast Asia specifically, and
what part?
Malaysia.
Oh.
And I went to high school or a secondary school in Brunei. That's
wow.
We can talk about that at a different date about some of the weird.
David, you're a well-traveled man. Born in Scotland, traveled to Brunei.
Humble, but I didn't do anything.
David is a man of the world. If there's anybody to overtake Genki Sudo's title, it is truly David of the Lake Kick podcast.
Okay, but no, 1FC, good job. I really like 1FC. They're doing a good job. They got some good stuff.
See, I really like them too. I think Bellator is no longer the second best promotion in MMA. 1FC is. I don't care what anyone says.
Thoroughly agree. As long as they can keep it going. And
that's the problem. They spend way too much money for their own good. But like other than that, it's so good.
Dude, they may not have a revenue stream, but damn, they put on some good Muay Thai and kickboxing fights.
For sure, man. It was so interesting. Do we just want to jump into that then, or
intro? I didn't see it, so I'd love to hear your.
You know what?
Your
the news is a rough ass time anyway. Let's just skip it. It's been a rough week.
Yeah, no news. Yeah. Okay, so 1FC. Basically, I watched this. I think. I don't know.
Wait. Hold on. Sorry. I just remembered Jeremy's take because Jeremy.
We're leading with Jeremy's take. Hold on. Quick pause. Or am I going to be wanting? Am I want to hear this? Or just have any? Okay, hold on.
Oh wait, are we actually pausing? Oh snap.
No, I don't know.
You know what? It makes sense to go with Jeremy's take because it's kind of news related anyway. It's two news items. So
Jeremy's take comes after the news now.
No. Yeah, usually Jeremy's take comes after the news, but news has been a rough ass time.
Yeah. Jeremy's take should always be after the news.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Fans, right in. When do you think Jeremy's take should be?
All right, couple takes. I got quick couple takes. I'll make them short and fast and sweet. On August 27th, former linebacker of the Chicago Bears, Brian Urlacher, sends out a tweet reading, Brett Favre played the Monday Night Football game the day his dad died, threw 4 touchdowns in the first half, was a legend for playing in the face of adversity. NBA players boycott the playoffs because a dude reaching for a knife wanted on a felony sexual assault warrant was shot by police. After that, I find out that Kyle Rittenhouse, who our audience might know as the Kenosha shooter, who killed 2 protesters and injured, I believe, 10 other protesters in Kenosha County, Wisconsin, has been receiving donations from a Christian, I don't know what kind of Christians these are because I'm a Christian myself, but a Christian support site or whatever, and a Texas law firm is going to take on the case to defend this guy under the pretense of it was self-defense. This kid who killed 2 unarmed protesters walked right by the police, able to go home, sleep in his bed, have a meal. Nothing happened to him. He wasn't arrested until the following day. Jacob Blake is shot 7 times in his back because he was unarmed at the time. Apparently, he admitted to having a knife in his car. But Brian Urlacher wants to come out and say that he was reaching for a knife. Jacob Blake was shot in his back 7 times in front of his children. And this is the kind of stuff that makes me mad, because when I have to go to work and I'm being debated on which one's more important, snitches not being in the police force and not reporting officers who have a tendency to be aggressive, especially towards communities of color. When I have to defend why Black lives is more important than developing a level of trust within the police academy or community, and that training needs to be more of a priority in the police academy. This is the kind of stuff that makes me mad, because when you give me those kind of arguments, those kind of boring arguments, it tells me that you're saying Black lives are literally, what's the word I'm looking for, Michael? Like negotiable. Something
not priority. They're not a priority.
Not a priority. Like, you're literally telling me Black lives are not a priority. And when Brian Urlacher sends out a tweet saying that NBA players are not playing because they can't face adversity, like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're uninformed. You sound ignorant, uneducated. Like, to compare what Brett Favre did to what these players are going through, to read, imagine a player who is a Black player having to read the fact that Kyle Rittenhouse is going to have all this money towards his defense, his legal defense. You imagine trying to live in a world, in a society where you're constantly reminded that your skin color is less than, that you're not a priority, and then you want to go and play for a white owner in front of people who, you want to go play for your white owner, you want to go make money for people who, I don't know, these kind of things make me mad. And this is no longer a legislation problem. This is no longer a law enforcement problem. This is a societal problem, because everybody has a right to a legal defense, to donate, whatever. But now you see where the error is in society. If you guys have any comments on that, you can jump in.
I just want to say that was very important, I think, to put out that kind of counter narrative to what Brian Urlacher is saying. And honestly, I think he's a chicken who refused to fight Bas Rutten after finding out who he was, number one. And number two, man, all these arguments do is really just muddy the water. It's not a defense. And I agree. It's like, these people can't outright say, listen, I don't care about Black people. So they try and muddy the waters and say, oh, well, he was a criminal. Like, that's missing the point. I don't care who you are. You don't deserve to be shot 7 times in the back by police. And the fact that we're actually having an argument over this in 2020 to me is honestly it kills any confidence I have in the American system.
Yeah, no, I mean, just really quickly, very passionate from Jeremy, obviously. So shouts out Jeremy. I don't know.
David was asking what's wrong with you, Jeremy. I don't know.
Hilarious.
A lot on my mind.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if that's the reason, but there is a lot on my mind.
No, I feel you, but I mean, at the end of the day, for me, it's not even a debate. It's pretty clear what's going on. There's all the evidence in the world. The only difference is, and it isn't even a thing of, oh, you're an ignorant, you haven't done the research. It's in your face. You can't deny it. So really, at this point, it's what side are you on? Are you on the side that, cares about Black lives and sees systemic inequality that's existed for millennia? And once again, racism is like plenty of other types of inequality that exist in society, but this one is so obvious and has such fatal consequences that, it's hard not to feel this one on a visceral level. And also, or are you on the side of basically right-wing people who want to further white supremacy and want to pretend like there isn't a problem? Because that's the two sides at play here. Because it's not if you look at the people, muddying the waters and having all these counters and all these narratives that go against the grain, it's usually people who lean in a certain political direction. And yeah. I'm okay with everyone having their own political beliefs. Fair enough. But we're at a point where we're not even talking about politics. Yeah. We're just talking about defending politicians who want to defend a certain group. So
does everything have to be political? That's the thing. Like, do cut and dry black and white cases where it's like this cop is either a sociopath or woefully unprepared to be doing his job, and like right wing, left wing, can this guy be in jail? Can there be no argument why he should not?
The problem is that in doing that, you have so many parties who are literally invested in protecting certain groups that
status quo.
Admitting and the status quo, but like just even like, let's forget the status quo. They're lobbying groups that literally like support the police fund and support police unions. Like they lobby on behalf of police and other groups that, have interests like weapons manufacturers, security consultants, whatever. You can think of all the, the military, so many different other political or interest groups that have a stake in this, that I really think that it's just a case of what side are you on? What side are you on, and why are you on that side? I do think, regardless of how valid your critique is, I do think that if you can see somebody get murdered and have any kind, and instead of empathizing, your instinct is to kind of rationalize it, then I think that says a lot about you than anything else.
Just to pivot back to sports, because I wanted to kind of ask you guys about this, because I've seen this narrative mostly amongst conservative people, sometimes with centrists, like, oh, these these privileged, overpaid NBA players, I think this is good. It's peaceful protest, and it's people who happen to have been in a position of power and influence using the tools that they have to peacefully stand up for what they believe in. That's what it is. Like, why?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, can you not say, even if you disagree with the movement for whatever reason, can you not say, look, I don't like violence, but this is like good legal political action, and I support their right to do it. Like, that's it's not that hard.
Let me chime in here, because like I've been listening to what you guys have said, and I think all of it is very valid. And recently, I kind of made like a post, like a frequently asked questions post.
Shouts out to Michael's 1,500 word essay. It was a lot of words for a Facebook post, but shouts out to Michael's essay.
Yeah.
Mike's thesis.
Literally.
Yeah. But I think one of the things I kind of hate is that like we right wingers especially, but like, and I'm a right winger, I guess.
He's a liar.
I took a test. I'm right wing. Okay, it is what it is. I'm okay with it. I'm a dirty right winger. I don't care.
He's right wing on the Canadian spectrum. He's not like right wing for the U.S. Just so you know.
Oh my god.
But anyway, the point is that how do I say this? if you kind of say you can't say this, you can't do this, where you say, oh, my vote doesn't matter because the only people who matter are people who are rich, powerful, and influencers, right? And then at the same token, be mad when those influencers use their power and influence to boycott a game for their political freedoms. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's weird to me how people like to change the game and change the narrative just to fit their own kind of viewpoint, right? It lacks a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? You know,
it lacks a degree of fair play for sure.
Yeah, you know, you're arguing in bad faith every single time, and this is why things don't get changed when it comes to police brutality and the treatment of Black lives, right? And this doesn't just go to police brutality. There's a lot of things, big, small, and indifferent, that affect Black lives every single day.
Yeah.
And people on that side keep arguing in bad faith. I don't even think it's a right wing, left wing issue politically. It's a moral thing.
It's a moral thing. Absolutely.
It's a moral thing now because
from
you
the
keep
drug
arguing
war,
in bad faith every single time. Single time.
But the issue is, it is a moral thing, but let's not like muddy the waters again. Like there's certain group that protects a certain side, and usually that group leans a certain side on the political spectrum.
No, you're right.
Let's just say it. A lot of right-wing people are either grossly misinformed about the actual issues and the actual issues facing people of color in America today, or they're genuinely racist and don't give a shit about Black people. I really see no other.
It's really that simple. And also, I just want to say, it's a further point. The problem is police brutality. That's what we're seeing is in our face is police brutality. But once again, like Michael said, racism is such a multifaceted phenomena that it really transcends that. Police brutality exists in places where in Black countries too. But the problem is when we think about North America, the system is such that the most marginalized communities are the ones who are the most over-policed, and here we are. And time again, who's the most marginalized community? Black people. Why? Because there's the system that is designed to marginalize us. So
over-policed and underserved by the school system, by the housing system, by like the drug war. Yeah, exactly. Like it's such a large and multifaceted issue, and it's not like it is in the 60s where you can point to this law and say, this law says Black people get out. You know what I mean? But there's laws that are on the books that contain a whole lot of research into how they can disproportionately affect Black people, and the results speak for themselves. They really do.
That's why I get so frustrated sometimes with the discussion of, we need to do this and we need to do that, and that's all of a sudden going to be the magic bullet, because it's not. It's going to be a gradual change, and we just need more and more people to see the light, essentially, and eventually, hopefully, we change it. I don't know. I feel like that wasn't very eloquent, but we definitely feel you, Jeremy.
I
like your tone, based on everyone's tone.
David, can I get an eat the rich?
Eat the rich. Also eat the rich.
No, but like the point, I think.
Jeremy, I cut you. Go ahead. I was just gonna say, okay, maybe you can finish this up, but
always eat the rich.
Tone, like I think people just need to ask, addressing Stefano's point of the backlash to these NBA players. I think you need to ask yourself, why would somebody feel the need to go support a system that inherently sees them as evil when you see a white person who is likely a right winger kill people and then walk with a gun? Why would somebody want to adhere to a system that is so unbalanced like that? Just ask yourself that, and then you'll find out what's important. You'll find out who you really are and what's in your heart.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, I'll just end on this. This is my only last point. It's just we gotta stop deflecting and using these again bad faith arguments and arguments that really lack any educational value. right? Because you're uncomfortable. Embrace your discomfort head on, and get yourself the facts, right? And if it you know what I'm saying, really educate yourself, because this is tiring, and this is why that post was made by me, because it's like, stop with these.
Do that, though?
Yes,
I feel like the feeling and the sentiment, but why would you believe in something that could be counter to your way of living? You know what I mean? Like, if you make money off racism, why would you stop doing racism? Or if how you've been raised and what you truly believe in is racism, like, what the problem is, we like to pretend like there aren't. Yeah, there's a lot of people in the middle, but there's also a lot of far right people, and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of,
we like to. Sorry, David.
No, go on.
I was going to say, we like to assume, because we're up here in a nice little pocket of the world, which ultimately doesn't have its problem. Like, we definitely have our problems, right? But like, I think we like to start with the assumption that everyone is rational and can be persuaded, or people ultimately think like us and have values like us and aren't filled with hate, but that's simply not the case, right? I like to think that, like, none of us is free until all of us are free, because ultimately we're all here under the jackboot, regardless, right? White, black, trans, gay, whatever you are. If you're being oppressed, we're all oppressed, man. And like, until we start seeing it like that, we're not going to make any progress.
And that's what that's what surprised me the most about this NBA thing, because I don't want to get too political, but you can just imagine, and that's the frustrating part about these valid criticisms, because when whatever happened in China happened in the summer, everybody was super critical, and I get it, but what's different this time is clearly these are people who could have said nothing, could have done nothing, but this time they chose to do something. So rather than harping on why they didn't act before, why not focus on like the issue at hand? And I agree, none of us is free until all of us are free.
Can I ask you guys something? Because maybe it's one of the few valid points I've seen made on this by the right, and like why can I hear myself echoed in the background? Somebody playing this?
Sorry, no, that might be me by accident. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask you this, because I think it's a valid point to address as far as the NBA players go on their side of it. So, as someone who values human rights, and I've seen this argument made in bad faith, but I'm actually just curious. The NBA, with its deals in China, and with a lot of the athletes here who are sponsored by Nike, who it's been proven have used slave labor from the Uyghur Muslims in China, who are in concentration camps. Is there a case to be made to say that it's difficult to argue for human rights when you're profiting off of literal slave labor from people in China? And like, I'm not trying to say you have to care about all causes equally, and obviously you're going to care about the causes most close to home, but I can understand a bit of the anger when,
Yeah, no.
I don't even know how to.
No. I get what you're saying, but you know what? It comes down
someone asked me that.
Two wrongs don't make a right. Two wrongs don't make a right. So if you know that something is bad, and this is too deep of a conversation, but I think we have to ask ourselves, why do we place so much responsibility on certain athletes to speak on some issues and not on others? Just because you might feel passionate about a certain issue doesn't necessarily mean you need to feel passionate about another issue, despite how right it might be or how wrong it might be. So I don't want to criticize. I do agree that there's a certain hypocrisy, but then again, ask every regular person, what's the hypocrisy in going to your job and making money off a system that, is designed to oppress people, oppress our livelihoods, oppress, our human condition. So
or buying goods that were made in a sweatshop.
Yeah,
for sure. Like, how
and someone asked me that, and sorry, David, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say quickly, sweatshop. How many people eat McDonald's? Like, how many people, drink these like aqua bottles, Nestle bottles? Like, do you know the history of these companies? Like,
Marble companies that take from lakes in Africa, and
like, come on, man. Like,
yeah.
So, yeah.
I guess it's kind of like a 10 to the garden you can reach type thing. You ever heard that expression?
Yeah.
10 to the garden. Yeah.
actually.
No, like someone asked me that, and that was another kind of frequently asked questions that I kind of put up is that, look, this is a complicated situation when it comes to the sweatshops, and it's like, yeah, these players do benefit from the spot, whether it's sponsors or companies that do benefit from, in one way or another, exploitation of countries like of people in countries like China, India, what have you. The only thing is that, like, okay, so why don't you go after the corporations that are housing these sweatshops, that are, profiting off these laborers, and go after the NBA players? No, you go after the NBA players because they're boycotting now, and you use it as a way to deflect from your discomfort, and not the corporations, because you benefit off of the corporations because they give you that Walmart T-shirt for $5 rather than going for a homegrown company that does it for $25.
What about isms?
We really got to move on, but I will say this, to be fair, a lot of people do go after the corporations as well, and an argument could be made that it's easier to expect, like, more from the individual and easier to affect change on an individual level than on the corporate level. So telling somebody to turn down a sponsorship from company A and instead go for a company that doesn't have such nefarious practices, I think is a fair request, while also, trying to rip company A to shreds with whatever means you might find necessarily. So
people typically, David, go one after the other.
No, fair enough. I agree. I
think this they're going after the NBA players because they don't benefit from the NBA players, but they sure as hell benefit from Walmart and Nike and Under Armour and what have you and so forth, right?
I agree with that, and I feel like most of these people who are actually kind of positing this argument aren't actually somebody who cared deeply about ending slave labor in foreign countries. It's just a whataboutism.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. That's true. That's true.
Guys out there, please fix the world. Can we make the leg kick a sports podcast again? All right. This world is so messed up that we can't ignore it. Make us a sports podcast, please. Fix the world.
Hilarious.
I was debating between talking about the CFL cancellation of this one, but I had to get it off my chest.
Thank you for that, Jeremy. I think that was important.
No. I'll just do it next week because I actually have my opinions about how the CFL handled this situation too. So,
Michael, did you watch the ONE FC card?
I watched the main event between Stamp and Allycia Rodrigues.
Wow. Okay, that was probably, in my opinion, with all due respect, the most I wouldn't say uninteresting, but not the least exciting fight on the card.
Stamp win?
No, Stamp lost. Stamp lost.
Controversial, though. I thought she might have taken like 3 rounds and then started to gas out.
I thought so too, but a lot of people were saying otherwise.
Yeah, no, I mean, she looked good, like pretty dominant in the first 3 rounds, but I think that, by the second round, by the last 2 rounds, I would say she looked a little bit tired, and by the last round, some people might argue that's a 10-8. I think that would be pretty generous, in my opinion, but it was an interesting, controversial, because as you know,
I thought 3-2 Stamp. I thought 3-2
Stamp, but a lot of people online live were saying 3-2 Rodrigues, which I don't know how you could score.
I don't know how you did that 3rd round to Rodrigues.
But anyway, controversial, of course, because Stamp, I think she used to be a 2-time ONE FC champion. This fight was in Bangkok, and it was a Muay Thai, it was for the ONE FC Muay Thai championship. So for her as a Thai fighter to lose to a Brazilian fighter, tough. You can see it in her face. Usually Thai fighters, win or lose, are really excited to just hug it up, dap it up, good fight, whatever. But she did not want to be in there yesterday, and she came out dancing too. So tough. But
look, I'll say this though.
She's 21.
The spirit. She's young. The spirit of Muay Thai. 2 things. One, the spirit of Muay Thai is that the later rounds count more than the earlier rounds. So the fact she lost 4 and 5 and ended up losing, in the spirit of Muay Thai, I'm okay with it. I still think though, if you're gonna count it like an official sport and every round matters, 3-2 Stamp.
Michael, you're using the 10-point must system. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It is the spirit of it, though. That's what I'm trying to say. The spirit of it.
I'm not gonna lie. You have to have objective scoring criteria, and this has been one of the knocks on ONE FC. They don't usually release how they tabulated their scorecards. It's just it's this, and that's what we said. I don't think it's outright said that the later rounds are valued, and I've heard good arguments for why they should be, but until it outright says the later rounds are valued more heavily, like, we have to operate with the criteria we're given.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, like, that's kind of that's a valid argument I've heard. Like, it's true. Like, when, you know what I'm saying? Like, one of the things that, like, people fought tooth and nail for Muay Thai Ontario was make the later rounds matter, and they didn't. They opted not to. But they wanted the later rounds to get matter more because it's the spirit of Muay Thai. If you're going to be a Muay Thai organization, act like it. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but it's...
I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I get it that it's the spirit because I think, if I'm not mistaken, traditionally, Thai fighters start a little bit slower than other fighters because that first round is pretty much figuring out your opponent. But at the same time, like, if you're a fighter and your game plan is to come in super active in the first round and use that as your way of figuring out your opponent, I don't think you need to be you should be punished.
You don't need to be penalized. And
Yeah.
I feel like Stamp was penalized for winning the first 3 and gassing out. And that leads me to my other point, is that at what point are we going to say that Stamp is focusing too much on trying to be this all-3 person and not picking something? Because she's going into MMA, she's going into kickboxing, which is a different sport than Muay Thai entirely. Everyone kind of thinks kickboxing, okay, do MMA.
I gotta stop you, Mike.
I'm
sorry, man. I don't know if I agree with that because her Muay Thai is already so gosh darn good. Like, I can get why she's like, let me try something else. Like, she doesn't need to train Muay Thai anymore. She's already head and shoulders above anybody in that. Like,
but the problem with saying that is these other people are hungry. Like, these other girls are hungry.
For sure.
Yeah,
and Rodrigues was good. She had good push kicks and stuff. Like, she was good. But I just think, like, Stamp Fairtex is good enough. Like, if she gets, like, a decent grappling game, like, and probably has to go up, like, a weight division and comes over to, like, UFC or something like that, like, she's going to be a problem for a lot of people.
She's going to fill out, and once she gets 115, like, if she goes to strawweight, I can see a lot of great...
Honestly, I don't want to see her at strawweight, to be honest with you. I think she's doing great things in the atomweight division. I think one is a good alternative for these lighter weight women. And I want to see greatness from Stamp Fairtex, and I think she can do that over in ONE FC. I don't want to see her become a mediocre strawweight fighter in the UFC, because Stamp's how tall? Is she like 5'1"? She's short, right?
Mm-hmm. No, she's like 5'2", 5'3".
Are you sure?
That's well. Let me Google that while.
Yeah.
No,
you could be right. But
regardless, even if she's not super short, like
she's also 21. Her body's gonna flow. Like,
strawweight. That's true, but strawweight is she's 5'2". Strawweight is a division where, you got women coming in at 5'6", which is, the top end of the division is often like that. And if you're at the low end of the division on height-wise, you better make it up for it with some grappling acumen and some strength. So I don't know, man. I'd rather see her have greatness in ONE FC than be a mediocre fighter up a weight class. But what else was good on?
So good in the first 3 rounds. I was just like, that was the one problem with that decision I had. It's like, how are you gonna you have to convince me Allycia Rodrigues won 3 rounds. That's the problem.
Yeah, no. So check that out when you got a chance. I'll just talk about some other fights that I thought were pretty good. I know I would recommend checking out. YK2 Yodekai Kai. I think I'm saying that right. Yodekai Kai. Muay Thai.
There's no way to say these Thai names correctly.
But do you know the crazy thing? I love the Thai names so much, man. They're so gosh darn cool. One guy's name is like Supachin. Crazy, man. I love it, man. It's so crazy. I also love the fact that...
did Petch fight? I'm pretty sure Petch fought in this card.
Not Petch Morakot, but I think Petch Dam fought.
Wait.
Petch Dam?
Salmon Petch? No, because there was supposed to be a Salmon Petch fight, but he wasn't. He was injured, so instead Rodlek from the last fight actually came back up, and really interesting. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the card to make sure that I'm not talking nonsense. Quickly, okay, the Rodlek fight was the co-main. Nuts. As I said, Rodlek came up because he actually lost the semifinal fight of the bantamweight Muay Thai tournament to Salmon Petch, but because Salmon Petch was injured, Rodlek jumped up and fought the winner of the other semifinal, which was Kulab Dam, who had just beat. I can't remember the names. There's so many Muay Thai fighters. I'm still working on that, but it was a good fight. Rodlek who has a boxing heavy style. I've watched a few of his fight. He actually, I think, fought Liam Harrison. And it was a great fight, so go check that out. Was a really good. It was interesting seeing a boxing heavy style against a more like fluid, more well-rounded Muay Thai guy and Kulabdam. Apparently Kulabdam's thing is like the left hand, but Rodlek pretty much was like, I don't respect any punching heavy fighter, and just like walked him down and knocked him down. I think there was like 2 knockdowns, so he did pretty well to make it to the final round. I thought so. Shouts out Rodlek, and he's gonna fight the champion Nango. So that should be interesting.
Oh, Nong Gayongadao is a problem, man.
I've not watched him fight. I'd like to watch him. Is he Thai?
Is he Thai? Yeah, and he is slick. Just, oh man, let me pull up.
What was interesting?
Who did he fight last? Because he put on a clinic, and defense.
What's interesting is Rodlek really suffered against
Filipino gentleman.
Yeah, because what's interesting is Rodlek really suffered against Samanpech, because I think like he's more of a kicking heavy. Little, I wouldn't say power puncher, but just seemed a little more well-rounded, which is tough to say about Thai fighters because they're all so well-rounded. It's just Rodlek really focuses on his punching, and yeah, he suffered against the other guy. Struggled, I should say, against the other guy. Literally last week. That's another crazy thing, how quickly these guys are fighting. I think he fought
Liam Harrison, though, I think is sneaky good, though.
No, he's really good, man. He's really, really good. And he did a decent job against Rodlek, but Rodlek is just too good. But yeah, no, that's one that stood out to me. So make sure to check that out. Quickly, going through the rest of the cards. Zamboanga, Denny Zamboanga. Her brother actually fought on that card as well, Drek Zamboanga. They both won by submission. Check it out. Interesting. I think they're like from the Philippines, and they both beat Thais, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, that was pretty cool to watch in MMA fights. So, once again, it's interesting seeing how.
You know what? The one thing about the Philippines is, here first, a lot of these Filipinos that like couldn't make it, like boxing for one reason or another, they're not really getting to the top. They're transitioning into MMA, and they're doing well. You're gonna see a Filipino invasion 4 or 5 years from now. You heard it here first.
Hey, hold on. The Filipino invasion has already started. Can I get a shout out to Don Juan, Filipino Wrecking Machine, Magbu?
Oh, you're right.
And speaking of which, Robbie Lawler, speaking of famous Filipino fighters, Robbie Lawler fought on the UFC card.
Okay.
Yes, he's half Filipino.
I didn't know that, actually. I did not know that.
I mean, a lot of people don't.
I saw him on 97, and I was like, wait, is this guy black? No, he's not.
You know who else is half Filipino?
Ooh.
What's his name? Little fast guy who fought Demetrius Johnson twice. He fought Merab Dvalishvili on the last card.
Oh, John Dodson.
John Dodson, half Filipino as well.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh. Cool.
I can see that because his hair gets very when he grows it out, it actually gets very straight. Like it's not like typical curly hair.
Okay, so quickly going through the rest of the card, Wondergirl Fairtex also fought. Check that out. It was a Muay Thai fight. Just check it out.
Instagram.
Yeah, man, just check it out because I think like that was a good lesson in the levels of Muay Thai.
Stefano, do you have a crush on Wondergirl Fairtex?
I'm not saying that I don't.
How old is she? 19, 20? Like, man, they're fighting young. She already had like what, 50 fights?
Yeah, that's the tragedy with Thailand though, because you get these young prospects and then you get like a bunch of 16-year-olds who have brain trauma and are working on a farm of 50 fights and are gonna die in the next 10 years. It's tragic.
Even Stamp like had like 80 fights, 90 fights or something like that. Crazy. She's 21. Huang Ding lost to Sakti.
Wait, what?
No, it's a real Huang Ding versus Sakti.
Is this a troll job? What's going on?
No, check it out. It was a great fight, man. Check it out. Body shot knockout. It was to the, I think, the left of the body. Basically the opposite side of the liver. So I was really, really shocked that when he went down. But when they focused on it, it was basically like a shot like directly to the heart. Shot to the heart. Okay, sorry guys, but basically he got punched in the heart.
Oh, and, David.
Sorry, man. I love that song, but you're okay, baby. All right. Um,
You know what's crazy? I now use my chest as a defense because I'm so
don't
fat.
do
So
that is what I learned.
I'm not
Don't
gonna
do that because he got rocked in like the heart and like he went down like, and it was a delayed reaction too. So check that out. Last fight also.
I'm
the first
currently
fight,
looking at Wondergirl Fairtex Instagram, by the way.
when you do watch this card, check out the first fight in terms of a leg kick clinic. He literally like it wasn't even that the other dude tapped out or like gave up. It was that the ref stepped in because the leg kicks were so brutal. Like I've never seen anything. I think like halfway through the first round, Yodi Kai Kao from Fairtex Gym was against Alex Shields. Halfway through the first round, he realized that this guy just couldn't hang with the leg kicks and just started blasting. And it was to the point where he would fall after every single kick and he would like lay on the floor and try to play the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game. And eventually, like the other guy was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to wait every time and make you stand up and then kick you in the legs again. I've never seen anything like it. It was like a round 3 TKO, but a great fight nonetheless. And I agree.
Something Aleksandar Rakić should have probably something Rakić should have done. You know, on
different
in his
level
fight.
though. It's a different level though because I can see why Rakić wouldn't do that because you know Smith is a really well-rounded fighder and he's not just gonna let you kick him.
But everyone knows Smith's best stuff is in the ground.
Wait, hold on.
I don't understand.
Real quick. I mean, he won the fight, Mike.
He won the fight. You're being kind of harsh.
Okay, hold on. Real quick.
I
I just want to say thank you to our East Asia correspondent, David. Guys, if you want to check out ONE FC, it's free on you. They don't currently sponsor us yet, but it's free on Fridays on YouTube.
It's really good.
And before the Singaporean police come kick down the doors for tax evasion and money laundering, check them out because there's some crazy fights. If you got nothing else going on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, no, for sure. Or honestly, like just check them out on YouTube. They have the entire card on YouTube. There's really no reason to not watch them if you're into cards.
I don't understand how they make money. I really don't understand how they make money.
Sponsors.
It's not off of sponsors. He's taking his billionaire friends and laundering their money.
Sponsors.
Allegedly. I'm not gonna say.
Wait, David,
I'm going to bleep all of that out. How dare you? How dare you?
Oh, it's just it's a catchy song. I wasn't stating the opinion of the leg kick. It's just a song that I really like.
Hilarious. Okay.
There was an article that came out recently saying ONE FC's over 80 million in debt. Sorry, 80 million? 80 million.
I think it was 80 billion to be honest. But
80 billion? I don't think it's 80 billion, Mike. That's more than the GDP of.
I said million.
Oh. Can you imagine 80 billion in debt? He's just been buying diamonds.
But a social construct. Come on, guys. Come on.
What was that? What's that?
Okay,
but a social construct.
Okay, Jeff Bezos will be able to pay him off 10
That's
years.
what I'm saying, man. They'll just write some imaginary number and be like, oh, it's solved. Oops.
Listen. One last thing. Looking at Wondergirl Fairtex Instagram. It's a great Instagram.
Oh, it's
anyway.
Phenomenal.
Hilarious.
It's
hilarious.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, but they can both fight, man. Shouts out Fairtex. But also not shouts out Fairtex? I don't know.
Shouts out to Fairtex because they make good gloves, but not shout out because they give like young kids brain trauma, but whatever.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, let's move on. Do we want to talk about is there any fight announcements that we want to talk about, or do we want to jump straight into
I think we're just skipping over that, are we not? Let's this card, man. This card. I just want to say, oh man, I was gonna get into the Robbie Lawler thing. I'm depressed after watching that fight. I'm sad. I'm depressed. I want to cry.
Let's talk Rakić versus Smith for a second.
Yeah, please.
And then we can get into Robbie Lawler showing basically no takedown defense, despite the fact don't
do that.
Yeah, man, Rakić doing what he needs to do to win, and Mike's not high on this performance, but honestly, I think if you've got to grind out a decision, and to neutralize Anthony Smith up against the fence, right, on his back is an accomplishment in and of itself, I think. He's got an active guard, he's a black belt, dangerous off of his back as well, and Rakić just fought smart and neutralized him and didn't let him up to his feet. And I think there's no shame in fighting what the fans might call a boring fight in the interest of getting a victory in this now very wide open light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
Well, see, my issue is not the victory or the performance. My issue is that there was a lot of times where Rakić could have stood up and could have kept it standing, and all of Rakic's best stuff is standing. He's got very hard to kick, as people saw. Very hard kick. He's got great distance management, and strong, really strong gentleman. And
clearly, right?
Hilarious.
I
was just going to say,
right?
that was my thing. I remember before the fight, the UFC post like a shot of his last fight, like a photo of him like flexing after his last victory, and his quads literally look photoshopped. Like they look insane.
Yeah.
We'll leave it there because we can have a off-pod discussion about that. But
come on, David.
No, he's Austrian or like Serbian.
This guy
so
criticizing people
soccer.
for muddying the waters.
He must be playing soccer. Yeah. I just want to discuss what you're doing. Credentials.
I know what you're doing. Doing a little sniff test doesn't smell clean to me.
It.
Yeah.
But
his soccer credentials must be crazy. I
was sitting with Jeremy and I was like, listen, somebody just better be. I'll believe it like this. Somebody's checking Rakic's pee, right?
His quads are crazy, man.
I'll leave it at that.
UFC, if you're listening, Mike wants to volunteer to check Rakic's pee, taste it, see if there's any steroids. But real quick, I think
this is how I check. This is how I check.
That's actually a gallon of Rakic's pee right there.
Yeah.
Age.
Seems clean.
About to do the gargle.
Seems clean.
Yeah, gargle.
Lay up on the asparagus.
Lay up on the asparagus. Hey, like Little Wayne said, if you don't.
That's how it is. It's good. It's good.
Like the great Little Wayne said, if you don't swallow, shut up, gargle. Okay.
Oh.
So, really quick, Mike, I kind of agree with you in that I can see how this might have been a strategic miscalculation in a way if Anthony Smith was able to show more off of his back and potentially be more offensive. But maybe it's a little bit of inexperience on Rakic's part, right? A little bit of youth. As soon as you hurt someone, you want to follow them up to the ground. But if you hurt them to the leg, I guess that's not always the best call.
Yeah.
And we're playing hindsight. Obviously, he did win, but I can see that point.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say is that I can see why he jumped on him because he had him hurt. That's kind of what you do. And from what I understand, I think he wants to be more of like an exciting fighter because that's how you get title shots rather than grind out victories. But I do think he still did a good job, when on top as well, especially against a very credentialed Smith. So I don't think there's any shame in the victory at all.
Yeah.
No, I don't think shame. That's a little much. I don't think shame. I'm just saying, like, you smell blood in the water. Go after it, young man. And the after it was kick the legs until Smith falls over. Right?
And my question for you guys is, where does Anthony Smith go from here?
Okay, I was
just
going to
very respectfully because
shout
out to everybody. But apparently he is one of those people that one of those stories you always hear is like he just walked into an MMA gym, never fought in his life, and was like, I want to be an MMA fighter. And all this time now, after, here he is. But he's in his 30s. He does commentary for the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. He clearly has like something else. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he does graphic design. I might be imagining that, or like draws or something like that. I might be making that up. Please.
He definitely is. I think this is valid, and I think it's valid to at this kind of juncture in his career. When I heard that he was fighting Rakić so soon after that Glover Teixeira fight, I'm like, what? How is this being sanctioned?
And
who's allowing
fight too?
Yeah. Well,
like with him like pinned to the corner, getting rained on, basically.
Less brutal, but honestly, I think as far as Smith goes, because we said before this is a wide open division. If John Jones were at the top, I might say maybe take a step back, reconsider. I think probably for Anthony Smith, like I just said, take a step back. If you want to keep fighting, take some time off, heal that body, which is obviously hurting, and take some time to evolve yourself, develop some new tricks, and come back at it with a new, fresh mindset, right? And sometimes going right back into it, getting right back up on the horse isn't the right thing without a bit of analysis. Okay, what did we do wrong? It's just I've seen Anthony Smith fight live once actually for FYI, and man, years before he got the John Jones title shots, and even at the time you could tell that there was some potential in this guy, and he's a very likable guy. I'd like to see him do well, and maybe a little bit of introspection is what's needed.
Yeah,
because I'm not calling for his retirement or anything, but
yeah. Well, like go back and just tighten up the screws a little bit in the striking. I think one of the things that like I noticed that was kind of glaring. Oh, by the way, David, he dropped out of school in his senior year, so
okay. Wait,
maybe he got his GED. I don't know, but like definitely not a graphic designer of any kind.
Oh, my bad. Okay, I might be making that up.
Graphic designer.
Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe
I don't know. Maybe he just. I don't know. I might be making that up.
David, did you know that Yuri Prokratska is actually also a longshore crab fisherman?
Yeah, I believe it. He's a very philosophical.
I mean, the way he fights, you never know. No, he's an interesting guy. But no, like with Anthony Smith, one of the things I did notice was that he wasn't really checking the leg kicks, and it was probably because he had that long boxing stance. And it would be nice to see if he would probably do this thing a lot of new guys are doing nowadays, where they're mixing up the stances. They're not switching hands like from orthodox to southpaw. They're literally switching from like, let's say, karate stance to Muay Thai to boxing. It would be maybe it'd be interesting to see him go that route. Like that's an adjustment.
Yeah. That's an interesting solution, and if you don't want to mix it up in that way, you could always work on just retracting that lead leg and getting a little bit more bounce into that step. You know what I mean?
So
maybe you should
like
Weidman
actually did that for his last fight against help me out, the Russian gentleman. What's his name?
Weidman. Oh yeah, Omar Akhmedov.
Omar Akhmedov. So. There are, these are guys who've been in the game forever, but are still learning new tricks. And it would be nice to see if Anthony Smith maybe doesn't fight like 3 months after getting beaten up. Just take some time, take 6 months off, learn some new tricks, come back stronger, right?
Yeah, he should fight like a Volkan or something like that. That would be interesting.
As far as Volkan is an interesting test for Anthony Smith. I think they fought once before, but I'd like to see that run back for Yuri Prokratska. Sorry, Yuri Prokratska. My bad. Aleksandar Rakić. I'll tell you why I was thinking of him. I think for his next fight, you could go one of two ways, right? I think Aleksandar Rakić, that decision lost to Volkan Ozdemir. I personally think he got robbed. I think you could do one of two things with him. You could either throw him to the wolves and do a Rakić Yuri Prokratska matchup, which I would love to see. I think that's fire. Any way you slice it, that would be a great matchup. Or if you want, you can also book him in a little bit of an easier fight, build him up, and do the whole kind of very non-UFC style of. Well, prospect versus prospect. I was for prospect versus prospect. I was talking more Prokratska versus Rakić. That's like I'd like to see him take on maybe like how about Nikita Krylov. Because I think I still have some questions about him, and I think a Krylov fight would be really interesting as well.
But like
he's already ranked above Krylov, so I don't know if that's a good fight for him necessarily.
He's ranked. Yeah,
is still waiting for a fight.
No, wrong. He's fighting Glover Teixeira. Remember?
Oh, that's funny. Because I was gonna say Glover Teixeira should fight.
Dave, you got a good. Like I like your eye for matchmaking, and I'd like to see that too. But the reason I'm saying this is because number one, Reyes booked against Blachowicz, Santos booked against Teixeira, and then Johnny Walker booked against Ryan
Spann. Matchup for Santos though, like I don't know why Santos came back and agreed to that, because Santos lost like all the ligaments in his leg, right? Get a tune-up.
That's a good matchup. That's a good matchup.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
I think that's a good matchup for Santos personally.
Now, mind you, I agree with you. I think I can see the what's the word for it? I can see the urgency on the part of Maheta now that the division's wide open. He's like, oh crap, I am one big win away from fighting someone who I knew was a very beatable, not very beatable, but like an attainable opponent that you can beat. And Maheta Santos at he's getting up there, man. He's getting up there. Not young, but 36 years old. You know, I can understand him wanting to press his case immediately.
I hear that. It's just, again, you lost all the ligaments in your knee. Like,
that was like over a year ago. He's fine now.
You don't just like.
David, let me heel hook you.
We have to look at the report again. Dude,
oh man,
I was so shocked. I was so shocked he was still able to walk and give a competitive matchup after that. I was shocked. I was shocked.
David, I'll put it this way: after tearing my ACL, after a little over a year, just my ACL, I was finally back to 100% form. That's not that I was training for that year. That means that I had the long, slow, agonizing recovery of getting the integrity of my body back. And then a little over a year, I'm like, all right, let's get back to training.
Fair enough. No, I mean, I get it. But, like, if he says he's ready, he's ready. You know? So I believe that he's ready. I just don't want him to go out there and
embarrass himself because, like, that's probably what's going to happen. Like, not everyone's Tony Ferguson and comes back after 6 months.
What the hell was that?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, like, I'm still shocked by that to this day. When they were announcing that in the commentary booth, I'm like, 6 months? Are you joking? Like, what was that?
Yeah. He must have been injured.
What's that?
He must have fought injured still. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Oh, he must have fought with, like, a partially healing ACL made out of, like, you know.
Like rubber and chewing gum.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the Robbie Lawler fight?
Lawler lobby?
Lawler lobby.
Guys, it's done. I'm
no,
sorry.
wait. Don't do that because I actually think Neil Magny did really fair and humane and good job on Robbie Lawler. First of all, I think too many people get into fights with Robbie Lawler and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna slug it out with him. Why would you do that at this stage? He just grappled and pretty much dominated. I think at one point he was trying to go for a twister. So I think Robbie showed that he's not I think he shows like he's not a complete white belt in that he was able to stop it. But I think he did get dominated, unfortunately.
Wait, the disrespect for Robbie Lawler. Did you just hear that? Robbie showed he's not a complete white belt.
But he got dominated. And I felt like Magny for that fight, especially in that moment, it made me realize like, oh, this is a more seasoned grappler showing that he's a better grappler than Robbie Lawler and that he can basically do whatever.
Robbie Lawler was nearly a JUCO champ. What are we talking about?
Yeah, look, man, I genuinely think that I agree with a lot of what you said there. Like a lot of that's not controversial. I mean, I think Magny fought a great fight, did well at being all the way in, all the way out. Wasn't embarrassed to pull guard or do what he needed to get into grappling range. But at range, picking Lawler apart with that calf kick, man, that right straight where he just quick pop. Not loading up on it, just showed it and then faded back out of range.
No, his striking was great. Really good. His striking was really good, dude.
I agree. His striking was phenomenal. His grappling looked great, but Lawler, man, has clearly seen better days. Like, what was that? He was shooting for a double leg in the first round. That's not Lawler. Keeps staying in turtle, putting like no urgency to stand back up in those positions, pursuing the double leg. It's like he forgot what got him to the dance, man. And it's just a reluctance to pull the trigger on Lawler's part, man. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, when you say reluctance to pull the trigger, I can see why he would be reluctant because every single time they got close, like Magny was grabbing him and it was all of a sudden a grappling match, especially after the first round where I'm not even sure what the top control time was, but must have been something ridiculous. Like, but Magny was really like dominating on the ground. I can see why you wouldn't want to go out just swinging your hardest shots with the fear you get countered. But like, yeah.
Compare this Lawler though to the Lawler that had those two epic title fights against NCAA All-American Johnny Hendricks and popped up from the floor like it was nobody's business. Compare that to the Lawler against in the Rory McDonald fight where Rory was actively pursuing takedowns and Lawler
didn't get one. Robbie Lawler was considered one of the greatest. Robbie Lawler was considered one of the greatest takedown defenses. It was him and Aldo at one point. And to see him get ragdolled, like he's done. Like, I don't understand.
It seems like he doesn't even fully can't fully put his finger on those unquantifiables that are gone, because coming back into the corner was sad, man. It was sad to see. He's talking to Henry Hooft saying, I don't know what's going on. I can't pull the trigger. And Hooft's like, what are you doing? Just, man, fighting's not a young man's game. And Robbie Lawler, the fact that he's still able to fight an elite level at 38 years old and not get finished is remarkable. But I don't see him making vast improvements here.
He's on 3. That's 3 losses in a row. And,
technically, because Ben Askren counts.
Technically, do we want to have this debate, Mike?
Wait, why is it 4? I see.
Because he lost to RDA. So let me pull it up. So he lost to RDA.
Man. What is this website I'm on? It doesn't even have his Colby fight on here.
Yeah, he lost to RDA, Ben Askren, Colby Covington, and Neil Magny's the latest one. He did beat Donald Cerrone, though.
But the lost to Woodley before that.
Yeah, and the loss to Woodley. So that's 5 out of his last 6 and 4 straight.
Yeah, disappointing.
But he's still one of the greatest welterweights of all time. So
I agree. I agree, and I think the upside for Magny is huge. I really enjoyed some of the looks he gave in this performance, and despite Robbie Lawler not fully showing up, I feel like a lot of that had to do with Magny being so on, because he was creative. He was fun. I always see, for some reason, I seem to constantly underrate Neil Magny, and I am always surprised by his upside, man.
Yeah.
You know what is that he kind of, I wouldn't say he got starched, but that Santiago Ponzinibbio fight was like, he didn't look in it at all, right? And so I think a lot of people still kind of hang that over Neil Magny's head, right? And don't look at.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying, and they don't realize that this is a guy who's slowly but surely making his way into the game here, like in terms of the upper echelon of the top 15. You know, this is a guy.
I get the impression that each fight he's making those incremental strides to being elite, and that's where he catches his opponents off guard. Is maybe they spend too much time looking at the last or the previous fight, Neil Magny, and then he just adds another element of his game. Like this grappling, Neil Magny, we didn't see too much of this in his last fight, and I think that's kind of where he caught Robbie Lawler off guard.
Yeah. And no, this may be a bit of a pipe dream, right? But with this win, I think he was supposed to be booked originally, if you guys recall, against Jeff Hands of Steel Neal, but Hands of Steel pulled out. I don't know if it was due to COVID or injury. It's irrelevant. And Robbie stepped in short notice. So being now that he's probably going to jump up in the rankings with this win over Robbie Lawler, this might be a pipe dream, but man, I'd like to see Magny versus Masvidal.
Oh,
that's
no.
A pipe dream. That's not happening.
Because if Leon Edwards can't get Masvidal, then why?
Yeah. Why? Yeah, good point.
I agree. No, I agree. I completely agree. I'm not saying it's realistic. I'm not even saying it's going to happen, but I think Magny has some interesting stylistic attributes that would make it a really fun fight.
Masvidal, why would you do that? You just saw this guy grapple Robbie Lawler for like 3 rounds. Like, what does Masvidal hate the most? Grapplers. Like, why would you do that? Like,
I think Masvidal could win it and potentially stay on the feet. But I don't know. I'd like to see it, but I agree. Then if you're Masvidal, there's no point in taking it. I'm just playing like if I'm a fantasy matchmaker and I can match these guys up.
I think the Jeff Neal fight makes sense. That looks like just similar stylistically.
But why? Why would you want to do that now if you're Neil Magny? Because Jeff Neal's ranked below you. He's ranked below you.
Ponzinibbio is never fighting for the UFC ever again. So,
but Jeff Neal's ranked 2 spots below you, and he's dangerous. Yeah, I don't know, man. Last fight was in 2018, Kiko against Neil Magny. Jeez.
They don't respect the Argentinians. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, man. Shouts out to Argentina.
It's crazy because up until that fight, like he was on a roll. Like he was just rolling everyone down, and now he's just not really in. So sad.
So, do we want to talk about Alexa Grasso versus Ji Yoon Kim?
Sure, I like Kim's style.
Before it started.
What's that?
That fight was over before it started.
Yeah, Ji-Yoon Kim. I think Ji-Yoon Kim had some decent counters in the early going, but I could see, first of all, compared to some of the earlier women's fights on the card, this one was it shows that there's a definite jump up in skill level as you get to the upper echelons of the women's divisions, kind of like you see at men's heavyweight. But I could still see a couple of notable holes in their games. Like I think Alexa Grasso was just able to beat Ji-Yoon Kim to the punch, whereas Kim was able to counter her early with that left hook. Her game plan looked a little predictable. Just lean back, counter left hook, and then look for either the uppercut or the straight. And it seemed like Grasso, when she recognized that, was just able to throw that hard overhand or get her head out of the way and throw that low kick. And it seems like Yun was very uncomfortable on offense, uncomfortable and basic on offense, and much more comfortable on the counter, but was getting beat to the punch. And holy crap, can she take a shot?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
No sell.
I like Ji-Yoon Kim, man. She looked really good, even though she lost. I like her style. She's not the quickest.
What's it with these Koreans and being able to take a shot? Because like Korean Zombie and
man, they're tough. They're
tough seasoned people. Weirdly enough, and I agree with your point, Stefano. Compared to not only the fights earlier in this card, but even if you watch like the ONE FC MMA or even sometimes the Muay Thai fights, like she looked really good and composed out there. She didn't panic when she was getting hit. And her counters looked intentional. It wasn't wild at all. So I don't know. I was really impressed. I don't really.
Yeah. The whole thing with Alexa Grasso though is Alexa Grasso is just such a great athlete, and for whatever reason she just can't put it together. But she's such a great athlete. You can tell. Like every time she goes out there, you can tell. Good athlete.
Yeah. She has some notable flaws, like she's not getting her head off the center line on offense, whereas she's some things that'll probably come with time, I think. On defense, she seems to have good head movement when she's being pushed back, but on offense, she kind of forgets to move her head a little bit where she can get caught. But in the later rounds, she adapted, and it seemed like Kim wasn't able to. But yeah, sorry, Jeremy.
One thing I noticed about this fight is that you could see who the clear aggressor was. Even though Grasso really isn't that, I don't see her as being that aggressive. It's just Kim looked too robotic. Like she was just going through the mode like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Like you're just going through the motions. You look too robotic. While, like Michael said, Grasso is just a better athlete, and you just saw who the clear aggressor was. Like, yeah, you can be tough, you can take a shot, but that doesn't necessarily translate towards power and aggression. So
yeah.
Like I said, I only had to watch the first minute and a half to know how this fight was going to go.
True.
Can we move on to the first fight of the main card now, because this was fireworks, and this shows you this is the danger of taking a short notice opponent against a relative unknown. Because as much as I don't 100% know that Lamas deserved to win this fight, but holy crap was this fireworks, man.
Yeah, man. First of all, I think the card, I'm looking at the scores, 29-27 by all three judges.
29-27.
I don't know where they found. Was that because of a point?
They must have taken the point. Did you?
No, there was no point deduction.
That was a 10-8? Where do you find a 10-8 in this fight?
I think there were two 10-8s in this fight, if I'm honest. I think Bill Aljo in the second round.
That's what I was gonna say.
I think Lamas in the third round. Also, you could give them both 10-8s. If anything, I was thinking that maybe this was going to be a draw just because of how inactive the first round is. Maybe either a draw or Aljo would have edged it. But
I don't know, man. I thought if you're giving Lawler a 10-9 for surviving against Neil Magny, you would give Aljo a 10-9 in that last round, personally.
Yeah,
or losing 10-9, I would say, personally, because I didn't think that last round for Lamas was any more dominant than anything.
That second round.
Man, as far as Aljo goes, I just want to say, if you're a tall guy and you don't know how to maintain range, you better know how to fight in the clinch. And Aljo was showing that. And
he was really good, actually.
He good.
He's so good with that dirty boxing uppercut, though. Like that when he threw that uppercut, I was like, "Ooh, that's crisp!" Like
a little bit too much clowning around for my liking. Sorry. I was just gonna say a little bit too much clowning around for my liking. But when he was on, man. That good misdirection with the head kick.
He's definitely going to be back. I thought it was really good. And what I didn't love, and maybe that's because I'm a little too by the book, was his hands being so gosh darn low, like to the point where it was actually kind of comical. Like it was basically like Taekwondo style standing sideways.
I feel like in MMA though, the hands up and cover is not as effective. Like, and so you need to. I'm not necessarily saying
low. His palms were basically like facing the floor.
I know you don't want them to face downward like Algio was, or Aljo, however you say it. But like, I don't think you need to face them downward. But the whole thing about MMA is you need to generate swing and miss. You need to generate swing and miss if you want to be good. And it's hard to generate swing and miss when your hands are upright touching the cheeks all the time.
Can I tread the middle path here? Because I kind of agree with both of you in a sense. I think hands down can be an effective style in MMA, absolutely. But I think Aljo, man, talk about a guy who fights from a certain stance and then does nothing like you would expect would come from that stance. The way he was standing was like a side-on karate stance. I'm like, okay, we're going to see like an MVP kind of, step back and counter, maintain range. I was waiting for him to throw a side kick the entire fight because he
didn't throw one.
No, his foot was rotated. His toes were rotated almost completely inwards. I'm like, side kick's coming. And instead, we saw somebody who was,
a Muay Thai fighter.
Throwing 3-2, and then blitzing into range. I'm like, this is not what I expected.
Yeah,
right?
man.
So
his style, and I want to see it again.
His stance doesn't fit his style, but interesting. I think he's going to.
It also moves though. If it works, it works though. Sorry.
Yeah, if it works, it works. I agree. I think one thing he could do better is he could set up his blitzes a little bit better. Sometimes take a step back, fake a little bit more, and then confuse your opponent as to when you're going to enter in. Because against a power puncher who can just plant and throw that left hook, in the first round, I thought Lamas was having a little bit of success with that, countering with the left hook and slowing Aljo down a little bit. Unfortunately, his back hit the fence. But how good is Lamas's grappling? Oh my God.
Yeah. Good. The one thing that was going to be my one thing is that I felt like Aljo got hit a little bit too much personally, but from what I understand, he's a very seasoned fighter, so he must have trusted his chin. But I just think like against like some of the top guys in the division, like you can't do that. Like you can't have your hands that low.
Mike, Lamas hit a funk roll at one point in this fight to get on top. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Ooh,
that was nice. My boy gets from I think he was in side control if memory serves me correctly.
No, it was from a double leg attempt on Aljo's part. Aljo took him down and then he went for the connected the hands underneath the one leg. And
and then went front roll. Right? But like I can't remember if he was like if Aljo already got to side control at that point or if he just like got to just secured it.
Oh no, he got it. The position was he was up against the fence and trying to go for that Khabib control where you're sitting, or the low mount, sitting on the legs, and that's a very applicable position for the funk roll as well.
Funk roll where he gets that butt drag kinda, and then
yeah.
I really liked it. I also kind of saw Lamas try for a switch at one point up against the fence, but he just kind of didn't get it. The whole thing though, I will say though, with Aljo is that my thing is with that second round. Okay, I'll say it like this. With that second round, right? Do you guys really think that's a 10-8? Because like really? I think that's a 10-9.
I think they're both 10-8s. I think
both 10-9s.
I think what? Are you crazy? Dude, he beat Lamas senseless in that second round. That was that head kick, right? Followed up by that fight was close to being stopped.
But I think to be honest with you, I think you're a little too liberal with these 10-8s.
I think, dude, I'm just going by the criteria that they use in the 10-point must system in boxing, which is the system we use. When there's a knockdown, it's a 10-8. Right? I think we need more 10-8s, man.
Yeah, I'd have to rewatch it.
Like, why are we
so a knockdown in MMA is not the same, though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it absolutely is. How is it not the same?
At the time, it didn't feel like a 10-8. But I also don't feel like that last round was a 10-8 either. So
yeah, like I was like, where the hell is these 10-8s?
Honestly, I guess opinions may vary, and I'm always open to having mine changed rewatching the fight. But for me, I thought they were both two very dominant rounds. I think I would give Lamas the 10-8 in the third one, just based on and I think you can give 10-8s under this criteria, in my opinion, shutting out the other person's offense so thoroughly that the round is largely just you dictating the entire fight, even if you're not.
Question then: would you give all 3 rounds of Magny versus Lawler 10-8?
Yeah, I think you can make that case. I'm not saying you have you. It's. I'm not saying there's not room to argue, but I think you could definitely make that case because he shut Lawler out, right? There was no offense generated by Lawler whatsoever.
Yeah, for me that was closer to 10-8 than the Lawler's fight, but yeah, great fight nonetheless. This guy was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt apparently, and yeah, no fights in the UFC, stepping up to fight Ricardo Lamas. Shouts out to him. He's going to be back for sure.
I wanted to get your opinion on this, guys, because this is one of the challenges of taking late notice fights. Lamas, if you recall, was originally booked to fight Ryan Hall, and I thought that was going to be a great matchup, a good test for Ryan Hall. Both very good grapplers, obviously. Lal a lot more credentialed, but Lamas can grapple his ass off and probably has some tools on the feet to trouble Hall. So. And then here he is taking a fight against a completely different opponent, a long, lanky guy who fights out of the clinch. Yes, a black belt in BJJ, but it's risky, man. You're spending your entire camp focusing on one thing, programming your body to do certain things, and then all of a sudden, here's a wild card.
Yeah. But here's why I respect Khabib and Tony so much, because they used to do it all the time. They did that all the time, and no one had a shot. No.
Yeah. It's not the strategically smartest thing to do, but if you're so high above your competition like those two were, man, like I'm all the respect for the guys that do it, but it's tough, man. It's tricky.
Do you guys want to talk about the fight before that, the Impa fight? Because I was actually had my eyes peeled to that fight.
Did you see Impa? Did you see Impa on the Contender Series as well?
I did not. What I was paying attention was because this guy has 7 fights and was already fighting in the UFC. I don't have any background on him. There was a lot of hate in the commentary from what I remember. Like, they were like, I don't know. I just feel like the way they talked about him was different to the way they talked about a lot of other fighters personally, but maybe because he was so inexperienced. And it was against a pretty game Maki Pitolo, but man.
That's two straight losses for Maki Pitolo in like 3 weeks.
Well, I'd like to see Maki Pitolo keep going, because I think this was in the UFC. Man, this was a fun, competitive fight where Maki Pitolo was tricky, man, in this fight, landing that uppercut up the middle. And early, he did a good job of deterring the pressure of I always forget how to say this gentleman's name. Kasanganay. Yeah, that front kick was paying dividends for him. But I think Impa Kasanganay is just, and I'm calling it now, his performances haven't been as one-sided as, let's say, a John Jones, but I think he's one of those freaks who he's only been doing it for a couple of years.
He's such an athlete.
I don't believe that.
Hold on. I'm gonna add to that. I don't think he's just an athlete. I think this guy is crazy smart, and I'll tell you why. The adaptations, he clearly has not very few tools to his game, but a few tools that work very well. That counter hook over right overhand, counter left overhand. He kicks very well. He applies good pressure, mixes it up. But there's clearly holes to his game, right? But the intelligence of this guy to mix it up in the later rounds and avoid that front kick and avoid the weapons that were not helping him apply pressure, right? That were preventing him from applying pressure. That was a great adjustment. Sliding to the side, passing that front kick. And then
actually who I can compare him to when it comes to that is Rashad Evans used to be a very good in-fight adjuster, like very good. When Rashad was going, and it's kind of what rode him to an almost undefeated record up until he met Lyoto, was that he could make changes real quick, like mid-round. So,
sorry man, I feel like I've been cutting everybody out today. Sorry, man. But Stefano, I totally agree with you in terms of it's not just that he's an athlete, which he definitely is, but it's also that he must be so not just smart, because it's one thing to be smart, but it's another thing to understand instructions and then go in with a game plan and execute. His walkout yesterday, like, his music stopped before he entered the ring. How many times have we watched these guys going to the UFC in the first fight and they're like sprinting out? Not that there's anything wrong with that, because everyone's different and sometimes you have to get your heart rate up and all that kind of stuff. But his game plan was clearly like, I'm going to stay calm. I'm going to take it slow. I'm not going to get overhyped and start taking too wild shots. Because once he did that, his movement also, he doesn't look like somebody who's been fighting for 3. That's why I was a little
No, it makes no sense, right?
It makes no sense because like even like his head movement, like it was, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was doing things that I do as like an amateur, like dipping your head a little bit too low, but but apart from that, like he was moving as well as Maki out there, which is pretty crazy. Because
like this is why I think he's an athlete, because there's certain athletes who like, I'm telling you, there's certain guys you see even in like when I used to coach basketball, you'd see it. There's some kids who like you tell them to do something one time and all of a sudden they've got it and they're off to the races. Yeah. And I feel like for Impa Kasagane, it's like that. Like you tell him to do something once and he's got it and he's off to the races. And
there's certain sports and certain attributes that athletes have. Like a majority of athletes who play rugby don't start off playing rugby from childhood. They are multiple sport athletes who just happen to run fast, be powerful, run strong. Same thing with basketball with Pascal Siakam, although he didn't show it today. Pascal Siakam has been playing basketball since 10th grade. He has those special attributes, and now he's an NBA All-Star. Like, there's certain athletes who gain experience and become elite, and then there's other athletes whose genes are just built for a particular sport.
I don't think it's. I agree with you. I don't think it's necessarily just genes in this case, because I think we've seen great athletes who've fallen short in MMA. No, but I think it's his mind as well. If I'm
honest. His mind is also. I kind of assimilate the mind with sort of an athletic tool.
Yeah, right. No, the mind is definitely an athletic tool. What I would say is, congrats on the win. Shouts out to Maki Pitolo, who I still think is a pretty decent fighter. So I was actually surprised he wasn't able to get the win in this one, especially because he had such a huge experience advantage. I just think that, with all due respect, Kasanganay is going to have to get a more well-rounded skill set and more.
He can wrestle though, eh? He can wrestle his ass off.
Oh, can he? Okay, because he didn't show any wrestling.
His fight on the Contender Series, it was a very razor close fight, and then the third round blasted a double leg and was just, he looks incredibly strong and can actually really wrestle decently. So I agree. A couple things I'd like to see him add to his game.
Leg kicks.
Yes, thank you.
Whatsoever. David. It was actually crazy. He looks like he could do it, but I think he did one or twice, but it was so slow. It was so. He's got to add more. Kicks.
You know what? Who's the kick whisperer? Oh man, what's his name?
The kick whisperer.
Henry Hoops.
Yeah. Actually, I think it is actually. Right? Why not work with Henry 1-2 time?
His corner was not giving him any kicking advice. His corner was he just had movement, and so maybe it's a case of just the gym he's at right now, and you're 3 years in. You haven't
go to Thailand. All these guys are going to Thailand.
So here's the thing. I don't think. I wouldn't even recommend going to Thailand necessarily, because I think for his style, what he needs, I don't think he necessarily has to become a super offensive kicker where kicks become
his thing.
His thing. He's not someone who they're going to be his primary weapon. But what I would like to see him do is throw some low calf kicks just to slow people down, stop their movement, get them to stand in front of him a little bit more so that pressure is a little more effective. I'd also like to see him move his head off the center line a little bit more, just because he's got that great American kickboxing stance. Oh, sorry, not even almost an American kickboxing stance, but more of how do I put this? His head is very low, right? And he's like an American kickboxing stance. His weight is heavy on his front foot, where he's ready to hop back and apply pressure at the same time. But based on that stance, attacks up the middle are going to be a problem for him. The uppercut, which was a persistent problem throughout the fight.
Maki with that uppercut was.
So I'm not saying you can't fight out of that stance. I'm just saying a little bit more side-to-side movements or trunk movement from the head, just to keep them guessing as far as where they're going to land that upward strike. But
I think his movement was pretty good, but unfortunately outside outside the pocket, when he would swing, he wouldn't move as much. So actually, I agree with you that maybe if he was moving in between shots a little bit more, then it would be a little less close in the striking exchanges, but. He was doing a lot of movement like outside of the range, which was pretty weird.
Do you know what's one cool thing he showed when he pushed Maki to the fence and then had the double wrist grip and disengaged and threw that elbow? That was, oh man.
Really? Are we doing people for wrist grips right now? Like, come on, man.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Hand fighting into blending hand fighting into elbows is a lost art in MMA.
I know that's the problem. That's the problem. It should be basic.
Thing?
He says with 0 MMA fights, but go on.
You know what's a weird thing too. I remember the first time I actually learned that. I know it's a Muay Thai thing, but the first time I learned that was I was at a Wing Chun seminar, and a guy who did Wing Chun and Muay Thai was like, "Oh, here's how you can combine them: wrist intercept, elbow." Right? And I was like, "Wow, this would be such a great tool in MMA," and I never saw it used.
Yeah. And for my Muay Thai heads, Petchmorakot versus Liam Harrison. That's how Petchmorakot got him. He basically had his hands, ripped his, and Liam Harrison was winning that fight. Ripped his arm down and just followed with like the lead elbow. It was beautiful.
He's boxing well as well, eh? Lomachenko does it beautifully.
It works. Yeah, no, honestly, I can't wait to try it out. It just makes so much sense. But yeah.
Don't you love when you see some cool stuff in on a fight card and you're like, man, I'm fired up to train.
Yes, absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right.
Do you guys want to run through the rest of the card or?
No, because the reason why I said I don't want to talk about Impa in the beginning is because we got to talk these Raptors, how they disgraced us.
In that case, I'll be right back. I'm going to go to the washroom.
Okay, quickly. I also like the Brady. Just wanted to talk about that because his tat was insane. Did you guys see that guy? I don't know. His name was Sean Brady, Scott Brady. I don't know. That was pretty nuts. And shouts out to Hannah Cyphers, man. I'm just going to leave it there.
Man, it's going to be a tough one for Hannah Cyphers. I feel bad.
Shout out to Hannah Cyphers, man. Okay, let's talk about some raps. Let's go rap.
She was about to win.
She was. The other lady was screaming when she won, man. I love that. MMA passion.
Poor Hannah Cyphers. All right, okay. These Raptors. I was so disgusted.
Wait, before we get into that, I just want to say shouts out to the Raptors for even making it this far. Because last time we spoke about the Raptors, we all talked about how many games we thought it would go, and I was of the opinion it would not be a sweep. It would probably be 6 games. So shouts out to them for proving us.
No, I said there's no sweep or something.
Yeah, I said 5 games too. So
I said sweep. I don't know what you guys talking about.
Yeah, no, you said sweep. You said sweep. I said no sweep. So
I was like, if this isn't a sweep, I said quote unquote, if this isn't a sweep, the Raptors should just pack their bags. Like this. That's what I said.
It should have been a sweep because they were not playing. Brooklyn was not playing defense. And I think that was the problem.
Bless them. They don't you know what? They really played their hearts out. But once Joe Harris left, it was like, okay, well. Yeah. But anyway, look, I'm so disgusted with these Raptors today, right? And I get it. The Celtics, for whatever reason, like they Brad Stevens knows how to play them. Brad Stevens knows how to play them. But these Raptors today, like 39 points in the first quarter. Are you kidding me? Like what are we talking about here, right? They miss a shot. All of a sudden, they're looking at the ref.
No.
Right?
Were
they doing a dance move? What was going on? Like, and shouts out to our
Boston
all-star.
Are tricky, man. The problem for me is that Boston clearly, and I feel like I've heard this take somewhere else before, but they've clearly have the best 3 players in this series, which is a problem for the Raptors. Yeah. So they're also good at things that the Raptors are good at, which is like teamwork and defense. So it's kind of, I don't want to say a mismatch, but it's a bad matchup for the Raptors.
No, it's a tough matchup.
It's matchup problems. Like
yeah,
like we all know that, but it's the fact that their defense it's how Michael said, their defense knows how to defend the Raptors, and when you can't get a bucket on offense, it takes away from your defense. It drains your defense. It's like it's nice
to see it's nice to see the ball go in the basket every once in a while, you know?
Yes, exactly. Like it drains, it takes away from you because you get all these chances and you can't do anything with it. They keep trying to they were 30% from the 3-point line, or I think 20-something%. Their field goal percentage.
25%. 10 of 40.
25% from the 3-point line, and their field goal percentage was 30%, you're not going to win basketball games like that.
No.
Van Fleet only scored 10 points.
No.
And shout out to Pascal Siakam though, because our all-star big man went 5 for 16 from the field.
Bro, like we have the advantage in the front court, but in the back court, we are grossly outmatched.
But see, here's the crazy thing is I don't think we are. I just think for whatever reason they know how to play Lowry.
I'm sorry. I think we are outmatched. Jason Tatum was cooking Van Vliet, and I like Van Vliet. Last series, like he was actually, I would say, our best player. Like he's actually been a really like a surprising,
really effective
player for me. Like super effective, and he plays like I don't want to say all-star, but borderline all-star. Like he plays.
I've been saying that. I said why not give the all-star game?
I was laughing at you. I was actually laughing. I remember we talked about that on here, and I was like, no way, but. He plays like a borderline all-star. Like he's really good.
Yeah, actually, I remember that.
You're not gonna beat.
Listen, I'll say this. I know I get it. I fight. I'm an MMA guy, but I know basketball. Like I know basketball. It's in my blood.
All right, now that you're done clapping yourself on the back, patting yourself on the back, what's it called? Yeah, no, I just think Kemba Walker is also just, with all due respect, he's just got Lowry's number when it comes to offense. Like it just. Yeah, like he's too good for Lowry. So yeah, the backcourt, I totally agree with Jeremy. Totally outmatched. I don't know if I even agree that we have like the advantage in front court just because
like
our step like
Ibaka.
I think like Pascal Siakam can get to the bucket against the Celtics, but it's just that he's starting from so far away from the basket. To try and do that little like one dribble spin.
My thing is that this is where Melo is a master at. Like this is what I like about Melo is sometimes you need a 2 for your 3. So why not get a couple jimmies and then go to the 3-point line? It's fine. Like I get it.
He's not a shooter. He's not a jump shooter.
I know he's not a jump shooter, but what I'm saying is. Like everyone knows this. You go to the gym, you start at the rim, and then you move to the foul line extended.
First of
and
all,
you go to
as a pro, you shouldn't be taking just like long twos anyway. That's not the way basketball works anymore. Like nobody wants to.
I understand that, but this is exactly my point. Is because of these analytic warriors, they're taking away from what makes guys get in rhythm. So you're seeing guys either start off hot or they're cold for the rest of the game. Nobody's able to work through anything.
Man, I'm sorry, Michael.
Because gone are the days where guys would. I'm telling you, there's lots of basketball teams where guys would start on the first half like crap, garbage, go 3 for 11. And then,
I totally agree. Siakam doesn't have a mid-range game as is right now. He's a decent like baseline 3-point shooter, and then like he can get buckets like in the low post. Like that's his game. And usually against smaller defenders or defenders where he has a little bit of a quickness advantage. But for some reason against the Celtics, that just wasn't what it was today. So. I don't know. I think
5 for 16. Yeah.
Lowry didn't play terrible.
No.
But he didn't facilitate the ball like how we needed him to. He wasn't really the floor general. It looked like the defense was just too much for him. But in all honesty, you're not
8 assists. What are you talking?
Hold on. Let me finish.
8 assists is pretty good.
Honestly, you're not going to beat the Celtics if Serge Ibaka and OG Anunoby are the juice to your team. Like they're good. Yeah. They give you buckets when you need buckets, but this is kind of what people are talking about. Raptor fans, this is kind of what people are talking about when they say
stars.
Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is somebody who can get you a bucket. When they say you need somebody who can go get you a bucket.
Yeah, in the playoffs.
Quell all the momentum of the other team. Like this is what people are talking about when they say
that. Swap Ibaka with Embiid, Raptors are winning the series. Like, easy peasy.
You know what, though? Like, that's the thing. Ibaka has had a career year. I don't want to disparage him.
No, he's been good. He's been good. But what I've realized since he started playing with the Raptors, with all due respect to the great Serge Ibaka, is that there are limits to his game. There are things he's good at. There are things he's not so good at. I don't think he can be the third scoring option on, like, a championship team. Personally.
But like this is the thing is that like the Raptors, God bless their soul, is they're I'm not even gonna say like a Kawhi Leonard away, like because that's like there's you're gonna see like maybe 2 Kawhi Leonards in this league, but they're oh my goodness, they're a Bradley Beal away from winning a championship.
Oh, I was about to say the same.
Same thing. A Bradley Beal, and that's sad.
Bring the Rosen back.
No, but. We need guys we need guys who are actually good at 3-pointers and defense, but like whatever. But
the rest of the team will do it.
No, but like my whole point is that like you can kind of make the argument for a lot of it, but like the problem that the Raptors are running into right now is that the Boston Celtics defense are finding soft spots in the Raptors defense that the Raptors are just not accustomed to solving, because the Raptors have kind of figured out the way to defend the perimeter and defend in tight. And now the Celtics are going into those soft spots, getting the Raptors to press or lean back, and then getting easy buckets that way. So, like the Jason Tatum floater, I get it. It's hilarious. It looks ugly, but it's going in because he's finding these soft spots. And then when they press, oh, here's a driving kick. Here's a kick to Jaylen Brown or Kemba Walker in the corner. Like,
okay. Quickly, because I can see Stefano dying of boredom on my screen here.
Take your time. Take your time. I'm doing other things right now.
Okay.
You guys talk about fake sports.
Are you looking at Wondergirl? Are you looking at Wondergirl Fairtex Instagram?
Maybe.
Who do you guys got in the Denver versus Utah series?
Oh, that's good. Give me Utah.
Yeah, man. Jeremy.
Denver Nuggets versus Utah Jazz. I'll take Utah too. Donovan Mitchell's just too nice.
Ballin', man. Jamal Murray is also ballin'.
Shout out to Jamal Murray though.
Nikola Jokic, ballin'. All these guys are ballin', man. So I like that matchup of 2 of the future star guards.
Vince Carter.
And also. Who you guys got in the Rockets versus Thunder?
Rockets.
I heard a take the other day when listening to another podcast. Who do you think is a better player, James Harden or Luka Doncic?
Doncic.
Doncic.
Actually, why am I going so fast with that? Let me think about it.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
let's think about it and talk about it at a later date.
Yeah, because I don't want people to catch me on like a hot take, I like Luka Doncic a lot, though. I like him a lot. Like,
yeah, man, he's super nice. But James Harden, though, like, come on, man.
That's one of the best players in our league.
Like of the last decade. Like, let's put some respect on his name.
That'll take some research or something.
Yeah.
I mean, let me think it through.
Okay, so who do you think's gonna win? With who's the best team you watched so far? Last question.
Who I think will win the championship? I think the Lakers are gonna figure it out. Who I think is the best team I've seen so far? I think it's tough. Like, I feel like the winner of the Clippers versus the Mavericks should win the championship, because that's some of the best basketball I've seen.
Huh? The game's over. The Clippers knocked the Mavericks out. That game's over.
Yeah. So yeah, I think
that's definitely
you're right. They did knock them out. Okay, so yeah, Clippers, because that's some of the best basketball I've seen.
Yeah.
The way the Mavericks were able to lock down Paul George, like I get it, Paul George came out and said anxiety and whatever, but no, the Mavericks were doing some things to lock him down, and Paul George was in the wilderness for a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think the Clippers know how to win games.
You know what the problem is? Their only issue is they're too much of a jump shooting team. Like they need a way to just get some easy buckets every once in a while. But
it just seems though like even when things go wrong, they still go right for the Clippers.
Yeah. And notice how nobody's saying the Bucks. Talk about a jump shooting team. Like, come on, man. The Clippers versus the Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Clippers. The Lakers versus the Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Lakers.
Eric Bledsoe sucks. I'm sorry.
I will not take Eric Bledsoe slander. I'm kidding. I don't really care.
He sucks. All right. I'm tired. I'm tired of everyone.
He's a slasher, man. He's a slasher.
Look, why is he so bad in the playoffs? Like every year, it's the same garbage with this guy. Anyway, I'm sorry.
All right, that's a weird take. Weird hill to die on. Okay, do we have any other topics to talk about on today's?
Oh yeah, you guys were talking about Paul George. How about Ringo John? You guys get that? No?
Was that a Beatles joke?
That was a Beatles joke. Paul
Shame.
George, Ringo John. Yeah. And Pete Best. Don't forget Pete Best.
Jose Ramirez, I think that's his name. Jose Ramirez beats Victor Postol for I think it was a welterweight. I think it was a welterweight fight. And Jose Ramirez has his eyes set on Josh Taylor, which I think could be a good fight.
You watching boxing right now, Jeremy?
Yeah, he's watching a lot of boxing. I'm actually kind of shocked.
I'm gonna start watching. I'm trying to watch.
The problem is I hate the way Top Rank does their events. Like, it just looks ugly. Like,
I just can't even find the decent fights. Like, I don't know where to find them. I don't know, like.
I mean, this fight wasn't really a big fight.
Yeah.
But Victor Postol is actually like very technically sound, and he fought Terrence Crawford and who else? Terrence Crawford and wasn't knocked down. And it was pretty close. It was actually a pretty close fight. But I think after the 6th round, Jose Ramirez just started going to work and he started just controlling.
I think Pascal just couldn't handle the pressure, and that's kind of the criticism of Pascal, to be honest. Is just like whenever he gets a pressure fighter, that's where he tends to struggle. So like against Terrence Crawford, who Crawford's not really known for pressure. He's a guy who kind of like lets you go middle for middle, and he kind of beats you with athleticism and swing and miss. That's where he can shine. But against guys like Ramirez, where Ramirez is going to be in your face all night,
yeah.
That's where you got the trouble, right? At least that's how I see it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but there's boxing fights damn near every day, so.
Okay, I've got to find a way to watch those.
All right, cool. All right.
Do we have any fan questions this week? I forgot to put out the call for them.
I forgot to ask.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Next time.
Does anyone have any stories?
Ooh, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I have to work on my script about Stefano almost tearing my calf to smithereens. Yeah.
David legitimately told me, he's like, I was in one of your ankle locks. Finally met David in person the other day. Never met him in person. He's not artificial intelligence. Okay, fine. And
it's artificial unintelligence, but he's going on.
He was like, I had him in an ankle lock, and he's like, man, I don't know why people tapped at these. Like, and then he's like, oh God, oh no, that's hilarious.
You know what's crazy is because I don't know, I am definitely the widest of white belts. So I not rolled enough. And they haven't covered like leg stuff, at the place that I go yet.
Oh,
so,
yeah, they probably won't cover it until they come to purple belt.
David, come. I show you good Russian leg lock. Okay, for real. Hey, I just want to quickly say that the most David sentence ever said in the English language is, shouts out to 1FC. Hilarious.
Shouts out to 1FC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, can the title of this podcast be Wondergirl Fairtex Instagram?
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
That's weird. Real quick, I just wanted to see what the upcoming fight card is, because we will have a preview for you next week, ladies and gentlemen.
Because I'm not shaking my ass at the cottage.
He's shaking his ass instead on camera for your bucks. Coming soon. The Leg Kick Podcast, OnlyFans.
Yes.
Next, I won't say a weak card, but I'll say no. Okay, actually, there's a couple interesting fights on here. Next week we've got Alistair Overeem versus Augusto Sakai.
That's weak.
Sajara Eubanks for some reason against Carl Rosa in the co-main, and then we have Michel Pereira against Zalim Imadaev.
Idiot. You mean the idiot?
Mike, settle down. I need you to settle down. And then we got the best mullet in MMA, Ricky Simone versus
Michel Pereira. We're talking
Keller.
about the same Michel Pereira who illegally kneed Diego Sanchez on the way to the W. That guy? Yeah,
Thiago Moises.
You're talking about the guy who gassed himself out in the first minute against Tristan Connolly?
Oh, yeah. Man, I can't wait to watch that fight. Yeah. He always had something interesting, and I feel like we've missed him since the lockdown. But what I will say is I actually sadly agree with Michael right now.
Hold on. Are you seriously trying to suggest to me that fight was a product of Michel Pereira's stupidity and not of Joshua Fabia's brilliant cornering?
Okay.
Joshua Fabia's fight?
Mind. No, Joshua
Fabia.
Oh, no,
wait, no. That's not Diego Sanchez's.
Joshua Fabia planned that to a T. He advocated to go down on the knee. That was brilliant cornering. Let me stop chewing on my chair.
Michel Pereira, I mean, he clearly is athletic, but, man,
he's got all the skills in the world. Big guy.
Antics are ridiculous. Like, actually ridiculous.
This man did a backflip.
Yeah, twice. I know. Like a round-off backflip. Not just any backflip. Like a round-off backflip.
Oh, my God. You guys are reading too much to it. Okay. Is that it? We're going to do a preview on Friday, I guess. And,
call me, I guess.
Me and Mike. I'm
not working Friday. Yeah.
I might be able to do it.
So, let's do it.
Oh, let's do it. Oh, and our OnlyFans is coming out soon.
If you want to see titties,
then it's the wrong OnlyFans for you. You will see booty, though.
Okay.
Spicy. Spicy, yes.
All right. Okay.
Stefano,
do you want to thread?
Oh my God! Oh, Mike, stop! We're gonna get put on Pornhub. We're gonna get put on Pornhub.
We need to put this on YouTube, man. We don't want to get censored. Stefano, do you want to take us home?
Yeah, guys. Weekly reminder just to comment, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it. We love doing this for you. Help us do it for you. Tell your friends about the podcast. We've got a whole back catalog of entertaining content. Man, I'm off my game. I slept not at all this weekend. I was stuck in a tent and I got rained on.
Camping?
I was camping. So how about this? If you don't subscribe, like, and comment, I don't know. I can't. I don't know. God damn it! I'll lock you in a tent and have you rained on for the weekend.
That woman who was attacked by a grizzly bear, or by like a black bear in Alberta.
Oh, a black? Why'd you have to mention the fact that the bear was black, David?
All right.
It could have been any bear. It could have been a white bear. It could have been brown. It just happened to be a black bear. Okay.
Hilarious. You got me there. I think they're not called white bears. They're called polar bears. Or African American
bears. Indian subcontinent bears.
All right. Okay. That's enough. All right.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Pete Chadwick Boseman. Wakanda forever.
Oh, for real.
Oh yeah.
Wakanda. Let's go.
Am I racially allowed to do that?
No, Stefano. No, you keep your hands straight.
Let's go.
No. Internet, get him. You saw that.
Oh man.
That's a sad real one though. Watch 40. Everyone talks about Black Panther. Watch 42. Seriously, watch 42.
And Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah. So.
Did you say forgetting Sarah Marshall?
No, Thurgood Marshall.
Oh.
The spearhead of Board versus the Brown of Education. I'm sorry, Brown versus the Board of Education.
Oh, that was an important case.
There's a movie about that?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And Chadwick Boseman played the lead, actually.
That's actually really
Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah.
Hilarious. I cited that in my thesis. Anyway, okay. Peace out.
All right. Later.
Mike.
Oh yeah, I have to do the thing. Okay.
Oh my God, Michael. Yeah.
The thing. Mike, do the thing.
So, even though it's been a rough week, and clearly you could tell, it's been a rough week, I still want you to know that you got three things. You got life, you got family, and you got this podcast. Remember to love each other, everybody. Peace.
What the hell was that? Peace out. Remember to love each other.
Yeah.
Yo, what?
Mike, David, this is good. Mike's coming over to our side. He's done with the conservatism and Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, he's coming. He's coming to the hip.
Jesus Christ?